Hi folks, and welcome to another episode of The Franchise Entrepreneur. And today I want to talk to you about mentoring and the costs of franchising your business. So the costs that you should expect to be charged to franchise your business if you were using a consultant or a business advisor, and why those costs are likely to be a lot higher than you think, and why they are likely to only go up in this time of recession. So, I'm going to tie mentoring into the franchising side of it. I'll explain why as I'm going into it. But why, or what should you expect from the cost side of things? One of the most common questions I get asked right at the beginning of a conversation with anyone that asks me about franchises, how much should they expect to pay in order to get their business franchisable? And one of the first ports of calls that any consultant, any business advisor will say to you right at the outset is, you need to know whether your business is franchisable or not. Yeah, kind of makes sense, doesn't it? But they try and make a big thing out of this. And really, it isn't a big thing, because those of us who know franchising know that pretty much every single business is franchisable. Now, it's not 100%. But it's very unlikely that you're going to have one of those very few businesses that can't be franchised. Now, are you ready to be franchised is a different question. And there are a couple of factors to that. One, are you ready in terms of your procedures, processes, etc. to be franchised? Chances are not completely. You may be closer to it than you think, but you won't be there at that point. That's, again, a 5-minute conversation. That is not a big process. And are you ready in terms of your mindset, which is a much more complicated question, but equally important, if not more important, because if your mindset is not right, if you go into it with the wrong attitude, wrong kind of expectation, then you will fail. I've had many conversations with people who think of franchising as just a quick way of earning more money very, very quickly, and want to do the least amount of work in preparation for it. Those people are doomed to fail. And it's the consultants, advisors' responsibility to kind of highlight those people and to make it clear to those that to change their mindset, if at all possible, and to change their expectation. Now, the reality is that most of those types of people will not be prepared to pay for a franchise consultant anyway. They want something for nothing. That's why they are in it, and therefore they're likely to fall out of the equation anyway. They're the type of people that go to the federation of the franchise associations, get as much free information as they can, will tap consultants and advisors up for free information, and then won't commit to signing up, but then will think that they have enough knowledge in order to launch their franchise. So they are destined to fail, but there's a lot of those people around. So one of the reasons why I'm actually talking about this now, because I have spoken about it briefly before in some of my other podcasts, but the reason I want to talk about it now is because, as I've said in some of my previous podcasts, is that franchising in a recession goes through the roof. It really booms. And there are a lot of consultants, business advisors, franchise so-called experts, etc., who will realize that franchising does take off in this kind of period, and there are unscrupulous ones out there who will look to take advantage of that. And what I'm seeing at the moment, and some of the things that I'm hearing, are ridiculous quotes for franchising someone's business. People are going to some of these consultants asking how much it is to franchise their business, and they're coming back with quotes 30,000 to 50,000. Utterly ridiculous. Unfortunately, there'll be quite a lot of people that will get sucked into this. So I'm not talking about those people wishing to buy franchise. I'm talking about people who've probably listened to my podcast, who have gone, wow, I've got a business, and Des is saying that, this is a real good time to be franchising your business. Well, yes, it is. But unfortunately, there are people out there who will take advantage of you wanting to franchise your business. They will sell you the dream of, oh yeah, look, it's only going to be, you only need to sell 2 franchises and you've paid for all my fees. Well, I've got news for you. You can do it for a lot less. These people don't add enough value to help you franchise your business, and quite often they don't have the expertise or the experience either. Now, that's only going to get worse over this period, over the next 12 months, because the market will shift massively, because there'll be such an uptake on people wanting to buy franchises, because it always happens in a recession. I've said it before, lots of people will be made redundant. A lot of people will lose their motivation to work for someone else. They will be hurt, they will be disappointed, and they will be looking around for other options in order to protect their wealth going forward. They don't want it in the hands of someone else. Once you've been made redundant, and if you've ever been made redundant, which I have, you'll understand where I'm coming from. There will be some that will want to jump back into the corporate world as quickly as possible. There'll be others like me who were very disappointed by the impact of it and will vow to never have their future controlled by someone else, their financial well-being controlled by someone else. And that's when franchising comes to the top of the pile, because those people will look around for options. They will think about opening up their own business, starting their own business, but probably come to the conclusion that, well, look, that's a difficult route. There's a high failure rate, which there is. How do I reduce the risk there? And franchising is a reduced risk. Of course there are risks. Not every franchise succeeds, but it's a fact that it's a safer bet than starting up your business on your own. You're buying into processes and procedures that have been proven and work. So franchising booms. And also a lot of people have equity in their homes and will have redundancy payments, etc. as well. So, there's going to be an influx of inquiries on franchising. I'm already seeing it in my brands. But unfortunately, there are a lot of charlatans out there in franchising on the consultancy and business advisory side. It saddens me to say this, but even when I started my franchising, nearly 15 years ago, there were these charlatans around then. I paid probably about 25 grand to set up my franchising initially. Now, if I'd known what I know now, I would have done that for an awful lot less. But 25 grand then is actually round about probably 40 to 50,000 pounds now. And these are the quotes that I'm hearing people being quoted, which is ridiculous. It really is. People are actually getting charged a considerable amount of money to just go to a consultant to find out whether their business is franchisable. I'm sorry, you do not need to pay that money to find out whether your business is franchisable. Google it. Find if there's another business that's similar to yours. Look at the franchise association, see if or go onto the portals, Franchise Direct, Franchise Info, see if there are businesses that are similar to yours, and that will tell you whether there's a precedent for your type of business that has been set up as a franchise. Now, of course, you still got to go through the process of building up your procedures and all the rest of it and your legal documentation. But people were getting charged nearly £10,000 by consultants just to tell them that their business is franchisable. All they will do is take a template of the sector, add your name into it, add a few details, have a couple of meetings with you, send you that document that takes them probably about half an hour to update, and then come to a conclusion at the end of it that your business is franchisable. It's complete nonsense. It's a complete waste of your time to do it. It adds no value whatsoever. There are consultants out there that will swear blind it adds an awful lot of value, that you can use this in some way to attract franchises. Utter bollocks. Right? In all my time franchising, not one single franchisee is ever asked to see that document that says that you are franchisable. Utter nonsense. Don't do it. Don't get sucked into it. What should you expect to pay? Now, it is a difficult question to answer in actually nailing down a figure. Because it depends on how far you want to go with the process and how much work you want someone else to do for you. Or do you want to do the work yourself but be guided by someone? Two very, very different things. Now, personally, and I'm going to caveat this because it's a service that I offer, so I'm obviously going to favour it than others. But I will tell you that there are some good consultants, strategists out there, business advisors who will help you franchise your business for considerably less than the 30 to 50,000 pounds, but you're probably still going to be paying 20 to 30,000, I would suggest, and that's even just from the ones that know what they're doing and are good and reasonable about it. Most of the ones that know what they're doing will charge you a bare minimum, and I'm talking about maybe a few £100 in order to tell you that your business is franchisable. That's fine. If you need the comfort of someone else looking into your business and saying, yeah, your business is franchisable, then it's worth paying a few £100, isn't it? I could probably tell you in a telephone conversation, as could most people that know what they're talking about. But it then gets more expensive if you if you go to a consultant, it's always going to be more expensive because they are taken on a project basis. So you will probably take them on and say, right, okay, I want to franchise my business. I want the legal documentation. I want my operations manual done. I want my pricing strategy done. I want my brochures done. I want my financial information document done. All of these different aspects of it. That's quite a lot of work there for someone to do from scratch. But the reality is that the consultant will ask for most of that information off you. Quite often will probably plant themselves within your business for a period of time in order to pull processes together. But more often than not, will still work remotely and want that information sent to them. So you're not going to get away with not doing any work here. The chances are that you're going to do probably at least 50 to 70% of the work, and they are going to organize it, collate it, and put it into a format that is franchisable, and tell you what processes that they need, etc. Now, is that worth you spending that money when you're having to do a lot of the work anyway? That's only a question that you can answer yourselves. There are some very good consultants out there that will give you a time period that they expect to complete all of that work within, and that can quite often be anywhere between 12 weeks and 6 months. They quite possibly will give you a fixed fee. There's no right or wrong way here. A lot of consultants do their pricing in very different ways. Others will do it on more of a modular basis. So, it would be X amount of thousands of pounds for the operations manual, X amount of £1,000 for the brochure, etc., etc. And then when you get to the end of all of that process, they will then offer to find you franchisees and sign up to them to help you find franchisees, vet them, interview them, and to help get your first one off the ground. That could be a 12-month process. It's not a 5-minute job, this, but equally you could do it a lot quicker, depending on the complexity of your business as well, and how far advanced you already are in terms of your operating procedures, etc. So this is why it's very difficult to give you an actual cost on it. What I do differently, and what there are a few others out there that do it as well, is I offer a mentorship package, and it's a very varied package. There's effectively a basic, an intermediary, and a more advanced level, all of them covering slightly different things. But the reason I came up with the mentorship side is because I prefer to have a longer term relationship with someone that wants to franchise their business, because I believe from my experience that having someone at the end of a phone or a WhatsApp messaging or a Zoom call now, over and above the actual just physical doing some of the tasks for you and through the whole process of franchising, because it is a process. If I'd had someone there to answer questions, when I was 6 months, 12 months into my franchising, it would have been a lot easier. The value that I add is that I've been there, done it. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've done a lot of good things, but I can certainly help you avoid making some of those mistakes. I don't do the work for you, and I make that very clear right from the start, that I'm there to guide you through the processes. I show you how to do it. I tell you how to do it. I tell you how to collate the information. You're going to be doing 70% of it anyway. You may as well do the whole lot with my guidance over a period of time in order to get your business franchised. And not only that, you'll learn a lot more about your business through this process rather than getting someone else to do it. Now, the advantages to you are that you have access to me via different modes, almost all the time. I don't want you phoning me up every 5 minutes. You'll be limited to the amount of phone calls that you can make to me, depending on what option you take. So let's just say if you took the basic option, which enables me to just help you get your business franchised but doesn't give you any of the bells or whistles, then you'll get one phone call a week from me, and unlimited WhatsApps and emails. You also get one monthly meeting with me. Obviously we're in lockdown at the moment, but once that's over, that would be face to face. You get access to our Facebook group, so you get additional information and tips shared with you. So, again, that's quite comprehensive. It may not sound an awful lot, but one meeting a month, which is a full day meeting, by the way, and effectively unfettered access to me in terms of emails and WhatsApp messages, and one phone call scheduled a week is more than enough to help you not only get everything you need to get done in terms of franchising your business, but also gives you ongoing support. Now, that's a 6-month process. As I said, you could make it shorter, but that's where the cost comes in. And I think 6 months is reasonable for your expectation in terms of taking your business from nothing into franchising. And it's quite comprehensive in terms of what it goes through. I won't go into all the detail on that, but you can look up on my website at www.desphoebe to see more detail on that. And then it goes into more advanced. But what that does is that it enables you to build up a relationship with the person who's showing you how to do the business. But also, when you pick someone that you want to help you franchise your business, and make sure that they actually are doing it. Not someone that says that they've done it, 500 times with other businesses, but they've never owned a business, or they still don't actually own a business now. Times have moved on, and I'm deeply suspicious of people that tell me that they've done it with dozens of other businesses, but they don't own a business themselves, because it's a different process. Yes, you can show them how to do the basics, but you can't understand everything that the franchisor is going through, because you've not experienced it, or you're not experiencing it. So I think that's really important, and that's worth every penny of what you're paying for. Now, again, if you want to come back to the costs on it, just take this as a comparison. I charge £1,200 a month for that service, right? Which probably sounds quite a lot, but think about it. If you're promised that you'll be in a position to franchise your business at the end of that after 6 months, compared to the £30,000 and £50,000 that we've talked about previously, that's very cheap. But I don't do the work for you. I just make you accountable, and I help mentor you through the process. But trust me, it's effective, and you'll learn a lot more about your business, and you'll have someone available to you. A consultant won't be available to you like this. Not in this way. They are purely there to complete a task and then move on to the next one. And they would charge you for every modular element that you ask them to do. So, that sounds actually pretty cheap, doesn't it? It is cheap. It's very, very cheap. You'll have to pay some additional costs on that. That is purely for my time and my guidance and helping you through the process. That won't include paying for your legal fees. You'll have to pay for your legal fees on top of that. But I've got contacts within the legal side of things, and solicitors who do franchise agreements for very reasonable amounts that are BFA compliant documents, but are probably about a third of the price of what a consultant will charge you. Because basically a consultant will say, right, okay, yeah, I've got a solicitor who will do this for me, and they will take a backhander on it. 100%, because that's what happened when I did it. I was charged something like about close to £10,000 for my legal pack. And what I know now is that I could have got that done for probably about £3,000. So yeah, you're going to be taken advantage of if you're not careful. So £1,200, that will get you pretty much everything you need to do. So I have an intermediary package and a VIP package that have different services. But the most expensive one I do is £1,800 a month. But when you get to the advanced level, we start discussing things like HR and accounting support, access to my marketing team, personal branding, exploration into multiple streams of income, international franchising. It's an ongoing package of things and support. But even if you've done a whole year of that, that you're talking about still around about £20,000. It's quite a comprehensive support package. Very, very reasonably priced for someone who's got years of experience in franchising, and I would say actually probably a market leader in franchising and in the sector that people actually come to for advice. I've got business advisors that come to me for advice on franchising. So, those same people who were probably charging you £20,000 have come to me for advice on it. So it probably sounds like a bit of a salesman podcast, this one, but I'm just concerned about some of the things that I've seen on social media, but also heard directly from people who have gone to consultants for advice on franchising. You do not need to be paying that kind of money. That is not money well spent when you're getting quotes of £30,000 to £50,000, because not only you will get the documentation that you're paying for, I've got no doubt about that, but once the consultant's done their bit, they walk away and leave you to it. Packages that I sell that are related to mentoring, and there are other people out there that do it who are very, very good as well, to be honest. I'm not the only person that does this, but this is generally from the mentoring side of things. It's generally from people who have been there, seen it and done it and are still doing it, and that's why they offer the mentoring side of it. That's money well spent, because that's an ongoing relationship that goes on and on and on. And you will need that kind of support in franchising. A consultant doesn't offer you that support. They're there for a fixed period of time to get a fixed job done, and then they walk away, and that's it. Mentoring is 10 times better and more effective than a consultant just coming in and doing a specific task. So yeah, that's my take on it. Most businesses can be franchised. Don't be paying out loads of money just to be told that your business is franchisable. Pick your consultant or advisor very, very carefully. The chances are, a lot of business advisors aren't actually very good on franchising, to be honest with you, and quite often will then go out and talk to someone like me in order to get advice before they would then go to you and sell you a package. Look, if at all possible, for people who offer mentorship as opposed to consulting on franchising. The money is far better spent that way, in my opinion. And there are other people out there who don't, I'm not just talking about myself here. There are some really good ones out there who offer some mentorship. But the ones that you do look for mentorship from, make sure that they are still actively involved in their own franchising business and they haven't stepped away from it, 10 years ago or whatever it was, are actively involved in it. And you'll get a much better rounded, knowledgeable advisor on all aspects of business, because franchising isn't just about the processes and the documentation. It's about all of the entrepreneurial challenges that you'll be faced when you go down this path. From recruiting your franchisees to the kind of support that they will need to the support that you need, because it's a lonely road. And if you've got someone in your corner that has experienced a lot of those things that you're going to experience and are not so far advanced that they've forgotten all of these difficulties. So what I'm talking about there is that someone, there's no point in going to someone who has got a business like Subway or something like that and has got 500 to 1,000 stores and has been doing it for 20 years. They would have forgotten a lot of these difficulties and their advice won't be that relevant. It'd be very difficult for you to relate to, going to someone who has been doing it, say maybe for the last 10 years or so, and is at a point of where you want to get to, is a good way of doing it. Far more relatable, and you'll learn a lot more, and that person will be able to give you a lot more information that is applicable to your business. So to round up, you do not need to pay £30,000 to £50,000 to franchise your business. Doesn't matter how advanced or how far you need to go in terms of being able to pull that information together. The reality is that if you do go with a consultant, you will get charged that kind of money. So take a look around. Look for someone that's meant to offer a mentorship. Look for someone that is experienced and is where you want to be and where you want to get to, so you can relate to them. Don't rush into it. Take your time over that process. Do not fall into the trap of signing up with a consultant that is saying that you need to go through a process of, is your business franchisable at the outset? That costs you 10 grand before you've even got through to even starting your process of franchising. So be wary. And I'll tell you what, if you've got any questions on this, I'm quite happy to take a 10-minute call from you and just explain this in maybe a little bit more detail. I could tell you within 10 minutes whether your business is franchisable, save yourself £10,000, and guess what? I don't charge you anything for that. So yeah, get in touch. That's what I'm here for. Check my own website out if you're interested in some of the mentorship options that I offer on franchising, and be wary because franchising is, as I said, going to go through the roof, and there's going to be a lot of charlatans out there trying to take your money off you. So no change there really, is there? Right, so take care, stay safe, and I'm looking forward to doing a bit of retail therapy because it is Monday and the retail shops are open. So get out there and spend your money and help all of these retailers come out of this recession. Take care. I'll speak to you again on Wednesday.